I got to be honest. This is the guy. Here's a guy, as Chris Collinsworth would say, that has had some doubters this season because of the injuries.
Yeah,
So
and
what we've
please tell
seen
me more, because this is someone I was very high on. I have him on my fantasy squad, so please tell me how he's going to help me win a championship.
I'd love to. I'd love to. I'm talking about Javonte Williams for our listeners, by the way. And I want to point out, I actually had Javonte in the show sheet ready to go even before Monday Night Football, where we saw him achieve over 100 scrimmage yards and that nice touchdown as well. I think maybe the secret's out of the bag a little bit more now. But in the last 3 games, the dude's really been on fire from just a compiling standpoint. He's not a super efficient guy, but he gets so many opportunities. He compiles points for you. He's had just under or at 100 scrimmage yards in each of the last 3 games, but it's the usage. They're not worried about this guy at all. The previous games, early in the season where it's like, hey, let's give him 8 carries. We'll throw him a couple of targets and ease him back in. Even though I think he looked way better than anybody expected him to early in the season coming off that injury. When we compare back to previous years of other running backs with similar injuries like J.K. Dobbins, folks like that, I actually think he started the season better than he even should have. But for fantasy, he wasn't really delivering until the last 2 to 3 weeks. And the schedule is nothing to be that scared of. Week 16 against the Lions, it's not great, but it's not the Niners. Every other matchup is at least a medium to plus matchup in his favor, and they're just going to keep feeding him. The Broncos are on a tear right now, winning games, so there's no reason for them to ease off of Javonte Williams while he's helping them do that.
Yeah, I love to hear that. And I think, we all knew going into the season, we heard the reports coming out of training camp, you didn't have any restrictions. But I think we all knew in our heart of hearts, it was going to be a slow start to the season. Regardless if you're full speed or not, you hear athletes say all the time, I just didn't trust it. It took me a while to trust my knee again, or, whatever, the injured body part was. So I think now, we're seeing him that he's finally starting to trust it. The Broncos obviously trust them or trust him because since they're giving him the volume, I really want to see his efficiency get better. I don't know if that's going to happen just because, Denver's offensive line isn't the greatest out there. So I would like to see him rip off some big runs and become more efficient. But the fact that he's getting the volume and he has been involved in the passing game as well makes me happy.
As it should. As it should. You take the good with the bad.
And that's the facts of life. All right. All right. I will continue with the running backs here. Now, I have Alexander Madison down here, and this is assuming, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit here when we were talking about news with Michael Carter. Assuming he does not get signed, I think Alexander Madison is a smash the rest of the season when you're looking at running backs, because he is the guy that basically has the backfield to himself. Ty Chandler, CJ Ham, like these guys are not going to command a lot of rushes in this offense. And I think too, they have Josh Dobbs. They're not going to be quite as pass heavy as they were with Kirk Cousins. I think just to try to protect him a little bit, especially in the next couple weeks, as he's still learning the playbook and getting familiar with his wide receivers and the offense itself. So I know Madison went out last week with an injury, but it doesn't sound like it's too severe. He should be back this week. And I think for the rest of the season, I mean, you're looking at a guy that has well underperformed so far. And part of that was due to Cam Akers coming on board. Once we saw Cam Akers get signed, get a little bit familiar with the offense, you saw that it was more of a split backfield. So now that that's gone, he's got the workload, he's got the volume, which is all we really want in fantasy, especially with running backs. We want that volume, just like you were saying with Javonte. Alexander Madison is that guy too. And you just got to hope that he just continues to get the volume and falls into the end zone to get you those fantasy points. which I think he can do. And so that's why I picked him for my rest of the season running back.
I like it. And I would even say, even if Michael Carter does sign with them, let's say, I'm still not that worried. I'm not pulling back that much on Alexander Madison. I would just, say that relegates Ty Chandler to the sidelines, and
Right.
Alexander Madison's going to maintain the higher volume there. Unlike Cam Akers coming in and sneaking away those touches. I like Carter. I just don't like him that much. So I think that one, I don't want to say bulletproof, but it feels pretty good regardless.